just share my screen. Okay. Okay, guys. Then. Okay, Sushant. So, what? Can you see my screen, Sushant?
Yeah, yeah, I can see.
Okay. Um, so, what I'll do is I'll just open up Data API. Yeah. So, if you go to Data API,
Hmm.
then okay. So, and let's just go to this GraphQL website as well. GraphQL data model. Uh,
Yeah, yesterday I read about this particular relationship.
yeah. So,
Hmm.
1 to 9. Yeah. So, so yeah. So this is the basically one of the examples, right? So you have a user and you have a story, right? Every user has many stories,
Right,
but every story has only one author, right?
right.
So this is one to many relationship, right?
Hmm.
So in this case, you have stories defined
Hmm.
with um, as basically a array of story,
Hmm.
right? And then you must give it a relationship name, right? And you see both the related fields
Hmm.
should have the same relationship name.
Okay, so this will create a bridge between them, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that means that they are. This is the many part of
Hmm.
user on story,
Hmm.
and this is the one part of user story. Yeah, basically, yeah, whatever way you see, right? So say suppose instead it was a case that it was a self-reference, right? Okay, wait. Okay, let's look at. Okay. Okay. Is there anything which is okay? Okay. Uh, okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, so there are many ways that you could actually go ahead and create a relationship that we are trying to do. Like you have a user feed, right? And then user feed has a squad, learning squad, right? And then learning squad has members, right? And now what you want to do is that for a given learning squad, you want to be able to create a child uh, learning squad, right?
So
Uh,
what is called here?
a squad is like a team group,
Okay.
right? So learning squad is the data type, right? User feed
Hmm.
um, is like a
Maybe you can show our GraphQL, so it's more real time, right, and more up to date.
yeah. Let's check. We can see here. Okay. So yeah. So you see this one, right? User feed is here, and in the user feed, let's first see whether this user feed exists in the first place. no, all user feed, feeds, and filter, right? And filter as post title contains two, right? And then ID, uh, title. Let's find this out first, right? So this is Learn Cool learning group that we have, right? And then if you see the kind of this and sub kind of this, then it's learning squad, right? And then if you see the squad in it, uh, so you see this squad, actually, if you look at the docs and you see user feed, then it will show you that squad is actually of type learning squad, right?
Right.
And this learning squad is basically having things like admin, um, chats, chat seen by, currency, duration, uh, yeah, several other things here. But important things are like members. Okay, members. Let's see somewhere here. Members, yeah, members. So these are the important part, right? And what we are looking at is that inside this squad, we want to be able to have like my child squads, right? Which don't exist today, right? So we just want to have my child squads inside there. And there are two ways that it could be done. We could just create a my child squad, which is like this. Um, yeah, we could just create a my child squad, which is connected to this squad itself, or we could make it as a like we could just make it like another user feed, uh, which says that my original feed is this. So there are two ways to go about it, and I sort of prefer the second way. So the second way would be like inside this user feed, we could have like child group, right? And this child group would have an ID, would have a post title, would have a kind, sub kind, and then squad, right? And then child group would be basically it will be an array of child groups, right? Uh, and then it will have an ID and title, uh, and it will have members. It will have members. Uh, why I prefer this as opposed to doing it at the squad level, having a child squad, is because I'm mindful that when we today create any kind of a group, right, whether it's a training group or a learning group, either case, we always create a user feed and we create a squad.
Okay.
So what is possible is that our functionalities might be assuming that every squad is connected to one uh, user feed. And that's where the problem might be if we try to create it as a child of squad, as in squad being child of squad. But if we make a user feed as a child of a user feed, and then that has its own squad, then most of the assumptions in our application will not be broken. Okay.
Do you
So,
want to explain about user feed first? Maybe Susan not understand about what is user feed.
Yuri, were you there in yesterday's knowledge sharing?
Yes, but I didn't attend the schema part.
Were you there
Okay.
through the full knowledge sharing, or you were?
I'm not sure until the full one, the full.
Okay, sure. So we did
Okay.
talk about user feed.
Okay. Fine. Sorry.
Yeah. Right. So, but that's fine. I mean, actually, the question is to Sushant whether this makes sense to you so far.
Hello.
Yeah, Sushant. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to know the about all the models which are defined in the types dot GraphQL.
Yeah, the only thing with that thing is that there's too many things defined there. Some of the
Okay.
things may not be even being used right now. So the important ones, let's go through them. Like this is user model. User model is very important because it's the entry point of all information. Because every information that we are having, almost every information is connected to a user. Okay?
Okay.
So some things are easy, like anonymous is basically saying that this user has not logged in using Google
Hmm.
or Facebook. Oh no, basically we have disabled Facebook and LinkedIn login, but anonymous means that this user is not. We don't have the email address of this user. We don't
Okay.
know who this user is, right? But whenever someone comes to our website, by default, we create a user account for them even if
Okay.
they are not logged in, right?
Okay. Okay.
So as long as they come to the same machine again,
Hmm.
we still know it's the same person coming back again, right?
Hmm.
Then there are other things like Google ID, user ID, Facebook user ID, LinkedIn user ID,
Hmm.
email, image URL. Image URL is basically coming from their mm,
Yeah,
Google or
from the
Facebook.
yeah, I understand.
Yeah. And then there are a few other things like home latitude, home longitude. These are the things that we kind of try to detect from their IP address. And some things they can actually fill up if they want. Right? So the idea for this was that we could probably recommend people, other people who are interested in similar topics and kind of try to help them create a group on similar topics. But presently, we are not doing that. So then is new user has dismissed feedback. Is test account. Is test account is basically used uh, for testing, automated testing accounts. Yeah, and then topics. Okay. Uh, yeah. Wait. Let's just check. What is this user topic? I think. Yeah. So you can ignore user this topics thing.
Okay.
So before we started with the present form of topics,
Hmm.
we used to have a free text topic for all posts, and we no longer use this.
Okay.
Now every topic must be created by someone, and then the lessons belong to those topics. So this is essentially deprecated.
Okay.
Bookmarks, again, we don't use them. Clicked and loved, yes, we do that. Yeah. Basically, whenever something is clicked by the user, we keep that information inside. Who clicked
Okay.
what did they like, um, so clicked resources, clicked taxonomies, clicked training taxonomies, user clicked resources. Let me just double check. What does it have inside? It doesn't use resource ID. It uses a user feed, thankfully. So,
So again, here the user feed is also a model, right?
user feed is a model. Yeah.
Okay. So
So user feed is the second important model, other than user right. the most important model after user is user feed actually.
Okay, so what is the role of this particular model?
In our application, there are many posts, different kinds of posts that or content that user can create. Most of these contents are essentially user feed. So lessons are purely user feed. They don't have anything else inside them. They have a so inside user feed you will see something called post title and post text. Okay, this is the most important part. Then there's a kind and subkind, um, and few other things. Few things are actually deprecated, right? There's collaborators, there's authors, right? There's distributed feed items. You can forget about this, yeah.
Uh,
My
to
platform, they
illustrate
use
better, I mean to add. So if you go to the training tab, you can also see a training, right? The text and description. No. If you, for example, last time we have a question. If you post a question, that question is a post. It's also a user feed. So everything is like user feed actually. That you can
exactly.
have title and then.
Yeah, anything that can have a title and a description is a user feed in our platform. So like self-study items, these things like this actually is a user feed. It has a title and it has a description. Description is a HTML text, so it has ends up having that. And then this one is again a user feed. This is a user feed. Yeah. So
The step itself is also a user feed. The
yeah.
step
So
is
then
a user feed inside user feed.
correct. So if you see some of the things inside Toastmasters, like yeah, like just see something like how to start pathway program. Yeah, this one you see. So you see this is a user feed, but then it has child uh, lessons as well. So this is a child lesson, right?
Okay,
Um,
the
this
lesson which are mentioned in this particular article, right?
correct. I mean they are inside this lesson, and they are actually also user feed. They are independently user feed as well, but they are like child user feeds of this. Right? So if you see over here, a user feed can have child steps, right? Uh, and then it will have a post title, and post text. So the reason the child step is there is because there is a step number there, right? So child step is not a user feed itself. It's actually of the type learning plan step. But learning plan step uh, has has basically a step number and a parent and a child. Does that make sense? So child step is basically an array of learning plan step,
Okay.
and learning plan step itself is
It's also a model, right?
yeah, learning plan step is also a model. Learning plan step, it is having a post,
Hmm.
which is a user feed,
Hmm.
and a learning plan, which is the parent,
Okay.
right? The reason that is like this is because if we directly create a relationship, which is a self relationship, you cannot have step number in it.
Step one.
So say suppose a learning plan is associated with multiple user feed. A learning plan or a user feed is associated with multiple user feed, which are its children.
Hmm.
But those are appearing as an array. Then you don't have an option of changing the order of the array. But if you create it as an array of learning plan steps, then you can add additional metadata for each item in the L, which is step number and then post, right? Step number and then the post. So you could actually change the order of the things there. So right. So okay. So coming back, right? Basically, any questions still here,
No.
Kushan?
No.
Okay. So let's go ahead. So user feed is that, and then user feeds are also other things here, like training. If there was any training in staging, let's just see staging, right? Let's see whether the train. Ah, yeah, it has. So test training to see. Let's see. So this is a training. Now you see, training looks different from a lesson, but it's also a user feed, right? Just that its kind and subkind are different. So therefore it's rendered in a different way. So there are additional things like there is a schedule in it, there are members in it, like members you can see over here, a lot of other stuff there, right? But essentially they are also user feeds, right? And even my groups, this thing that you see here, chat groups, they are also user feeds,
Okay.
right? Both training and my groups, their kind is same, they're just some kind is different. So if we just go to like this and search in API staging, API STG, GraphQL, right? Then okay, so all the feed, user feed filter. Okay, filter, and then we say post title contains, and then let's find out one of the training ID, post title, kind, subkind. So you see, yeah. So you see the trainings have the kind learning squad and subkind training squad, right? While lessons like test lesson, let's just put lesson here. So that has a kind learning plan and lesson short. I mean, just a text for a text field, so you can just put anything there, right? And if you see the third kind, which is your chat groups, like test group, let's search for test group here.
Okay. So this kind is enum, right?
It is a enum, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you
Mhm.
already predefined in the
Correct.
types, right?
That's right. It's defined in the types. In the schema, it's defined. So you can
Okay.
only put in the correct values there. So, so in case of a learning squad, so you see the test group to test RSVP and all these test groups, their kind is learning squad and subkind is actually null. So these are those chat groups. These are those chat groups. While training ones, trainings are also learning squad, but their subkind is training squad. So that's the difference between the different tests. In fact, both kinds of groups, they will have members in them. So just like training has, just like chat groups have members, in fact, a training will also appear as a chat group over here. So like this is a training actually. data machinery, this one. It has a different kind of icon you see. That's because it's a training group, right? And this is one-to-one training group, one-to-one group. So there are one-to-one groups where there are two members only.
Okay, so no
So that,
other member.
yeah, they can chat with each other, right? So that is also a use. I don't know whether that's a user squad or not, a user feed or not, but I think so. Uh, let's just check this one. Mm, Okay, so one thing you will notice is that GraphQL automatically creates a lot of query functions like all user feed, all users, all this, all that, filter, and all those stuff. So they will be consistent across all the models. So user feed this ID find find and post. Okay. No, there is that's not a user feed. That must be a squad. Learning squad. Um, yeah. So it seems that these one-to-one groups they don't have this user feed associated with them.
Hmm.
They are just a learning squad. Yeah, so that's a little bit unique about one-to-one groups. Okay, so these are some of the important this schemas. If you see here, there is this plugin data, plugin category, app, plugin, resource practice, learning plan. Uh, Actually, these are not used. User lesson undertaken. Many of these schemas are no longer used. Distributed feeds, user clicked resources used. User clicked taxonomy is used. User clicked training taxonomy is used. User loved resources is used, I suppose. Yeah, it's used. And resource comments, they are used. Yeah, and that's why the comments are basically broken because this resource ID is no longer there. Solr is resource comment.
Yeah, maybe anything that has a resource ID is related to Solar, and then we don't have Solar anymore.
Yeah, so then that means it's broken. So template, email template. It's an email template. Then email content, it's being used. User notification credentials. Yeah, so this is web push. Um, Again, that's something that Akshit created previously. So we are no longer using web push because we have moved to this React Native with
Fire,
Vue.
Firebase.
Yeah, so Firebase. So we are no longer using push web push. Push. So mentor tat detail. I'm sure this is not being used. Mentor profile is being used. Yes. So whenever someone becomes a mentor, yeah. So that concept is not very relevant right now because trainings are presently not being
But it's there. We
there.
hide it from the user,
Yeah,
but
correct.
any user who can create any content, they need to be a mentor first.
Yeah, any training has to be training can only be created by a person who has been vetted by us. Like they request to become a mentor, and then yeah, actually we right now automatically give membership, but in future we will probably do some vetting before they can become a mentor and then start doing trainings on our platform. Yeah. So mentor sessions are like instead of just selling trainings, they could also sell time, right? So again, it's not something which is being actively used, but it's there in our platform, right? Product feedback. This is a feedback that anyone can give on a platform. Again, something which is being used. Anything which has a model in behind it means that it's being saved as like a database table. It's like a database table. Mentor feedback is also there. Right? You could go to a training page and give a feedback for the trainer. taxonomy kind, yeah, it's being used. So taxonomy is what you see over here. Basically, these are the topics that you create here. These are all the taxonomies. And they initially, when we started, we looked at Khan Academy, and we saw their website had 4 levels of topics.
Okay.
So we thought, let's also do the same thing that it's doing because it's very popular. So we created 4 levels. Then after some time, we realized we also didn't want to click 4 times to get to the right page. So we eventually just restricted it to two levels. So now taxonomy has only 2 levels. There's the top level, which is the topic, and the one below it, like you go to this one, then there's parts like paired speech, evaluation, table topic. Units and sections are no longer used. So they are deprecated essentially. Even in the source code of our application, there are pages related to units and sections. They are no longer used. They are deprecated because after we realized that no one wants to click 4 levels to get to the right place, we just reduced it to 2 levels. Yeah. Then training interval kind, currency, all are being used. RSVP status is being used. RSVP status is being used. So currency is being used mainly for trainings and slots, I suppose. I suppose slots, but not probably slots.
Lesson. You have a
Lessons can be paid. Yeah. So lessons could be potentially paid lessons. If they are paid lessons, you can specify the currency and the price. And also, this thing could be paid. The training could be paid, right? So those are the things. Yeah. Then RSVP status is basically for schedule. So you can specify that I'm attending, not attending, interested, but not sure. Taxonomy is what we were just talking about. Like whenever you create something on this page, there you go ahead and say, I want to create a new topic playlist.
Okay, so this is a text only, right?
This is a taxonomy.
Okay.
So earlier you saw the user topic. That one is no longer used. That model is no longer used. It's the taxonomy which is used for these topics that are created. Yeah. Yeah. So my children, you will see, is taxonomy relation. Again, you will see that we could have just created taxonomy and its child as array of taxonomy as well. There's a reason that we did not do this direct self-relation is because there's an order in the child. So if you go into this, you could potentially change the order of these. In fact, it used to be a feature, but later on it
we cannot do it anymore now.
we cannot anymore. But the schema supports it, right? So if we hadn't done this, what will happen is that we cannot do ordering. So whenever there is a self relationship, like topic has child topics, if you don't create a intermediate table or a relation, then you cannot add metadata for that relation. Okay.
Basically, we abstract the model. We wrap it into another one to add
Correct.
richer metadata. So it's just abstraction of the same thing actually.
Correct. So then it's basically like if you were thinking in terms of database tables, if you wanted to create a many-to-many relationship between two tables, you would often create a third table, which will have some additional things. But yeah, so basically this is the thing. It's a self-relationship. So inside this, you will see parent taxonomy and a child taxonomy. This relates them together as a parent and child, but there's also an order. There's also author ID, who created this taxonomy relationship. and etc. Right? Training interval. Basically, this is the schedule. If you go to the website and you look at one of the trainings, and then you click on this schedule here, then the schedule that you see here is essentially training, right? Yeah. So in a training interval, you could have training slots, you could have attending status, taxonomies, which are related to that. And so why are taxonomies related to a interval? So in a learning group, like knowledge sharing group, your schedule would typically not be related with taxonomy. But in a training group, if you have a schedule like first day we will be covering this topic, and second day we will be covering this topic, and third day we will be covering this topic, then that's where the taxonomies comes into picture. Like you can have different taxonomies which are related to the schedule. Yeah, and you could also add a lesson to a taxonomy. Again, that's more relevant for training, but not for the groups. On the other hand, the training slots, like who will be taking up what responsibility, is more relevant for a knowledge sharing group like Toastmasters, where someone will be speaker, someone will be mentor or evaluator, someone um, will be the host of the meeting, etc., etc. So those slots are more relevant for those kind of things. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, this attending status is who has said on a, say suppose you go to this, right. Let's just look at one of them here. Test group here, and go to schedule. Oh, in the schedule, right? Oh yeah, I can add a new one. Right? So I can just say Friday and text slots.
Try to type on the lessons. I think it's still buggy, right?
That's fine. And then just add, right? The reason that lessons is not important right now, yeah, so you can add lessons in.
Oh, he's working on desktop. Okay.
So, but it's not important here right now because training is um, not being emphasized for now.
Yeah, you can have no lessons for a slot.
Yeah.
For a schedule.
Correct. So then you can just add, and inside this you see this RSVP status. So for every schedule, every member of that group could specify that I'm not attending or attending, and accordingly the information will be stored there. Right? So that's that. Slot assigned status, whether the slot has been assigned or not assigned or invited. Training slots. Yeah, these are the slots that have been added. Training interval, taxonomy, association is basically schedule can have taxonomy added to it. Um, so that's the whole schema. I think we went through the whole thing. But when you actually create something, change here, right? What I would suggest is like uh, right now, user feed has something called squad, right? Uh, so what you want is not to create a child squad. You want to create a child group of type user feed. Yeah? And this squad is of type learning. And this itself is of course user feed itself. So child groups should be essentially um, So this exclamation means that it cannot be null.
Hmm.
Exclamation means user feed which is not null, not nullable. So you can't add empty values here, and child groups cannot be empty array. It cannot be a null array. It can be an empty array, but it cannot be a null array. Right? So that's the significance of these exclamations here. Right? So it's saying it's an array of user feed. So now the question is, like, if you have a series of child channels, basically, you can just say channels, right? Let's just say channels, right? Because that's something that people will relate to in Slack terms, right? So if you create this, you shouldn't actually create it as a array of user feed. You should create something like child channel.
Okay, so it requires a new model, right?
Yeah, just define a new model, and
Okay.
then inside there you say parent, which is user feed, uh, child, which is user feed, and then you could put in a order, right, which is int, something like this. Yeah.
The order
So
is
if you do, like, say, suppose on the channels you want to order them, like which one is on the top, which one is on the bottom. We don't want to order them.
okay.
We don't want to initially order them.
Hmm.
As long as we are able to just add channels, initially the order is not so important. But at least if schema supports it, in future if we add this, um, it would be much easier, right? From a
Okay.
perspective, right? So then channels could be basically an array of um, child channel relation, right?
Hmm.
This way, um, it's it can have other metadata, and there is this special type of field that you can add to any model. Mm, yeah, created at and updated at. If you add these two fields to any model, what will happen is that they will be auto-populated by the GraphQL system. If you don't make, if you don't pass in these values when creating the channel relationship, the system will automatically populate it with the time that the item is created or updated. Right? So I highly recommend adding these two columns to any new relationship that you add. Right? Useful from, yeah? So basically that's what I would assume would be something that we want to change, so that we can have channels. Right? Then what we want is that when we create these child channels, so right now in our are you uh, we haven't had any knowledge sharing for GraphQL adding new items to the GraphQL API, right? Or are you comfortable with that, Sushant? Sushant, I'm asking that because it's a little bit complicated. So I'm just asking whether resources API, if
Hmm.
you were to,
Hello.
yeah, hi, yeah, Sushant. So I was just asking one question.
Hmm.
So now that we have seen the schema, if you want
Right.
to make a change, right? Basically, say suppose you want to create a learning spot, right? Create learning spot. Uh, I think this is what is being called. This is what is being called create squad post. Yeah. So
Okay.
this function is called when someone. Wait. Is this? Yeah. Create squad request. Is this what is the call from the app? So basically, what we are trying to figure out is when someone comes here and says that I want to create a learning group here, would be API is being right, because most likely what you will have to do is kind of modify that API call so that it supports creating a child squad rather than creating a parent squad. So that's what you would probably want to do rather than creating the entire logic for creating a squad. So if you see the web code for this,
Hmm.
uh, let's just let's just look at the web. I think somewhere this would be, yeah, see learning squad, yeah, create squad. So basically, if you see create squad function being called, it's being called with training description, image URL, subkind, training price, currency, location, and several other such things, right?
It's a
But
mutation, right?
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Sushant.
Yeah, it's a mutation, right?
That's a mutation, yeah.
Okay.
So this is the existing mutation in server main.
Hmm.
You see over here, there is this subkind.
Hmm.
So you want to basically make sure that when someone clicks create and it was not from here, but from inside one of the groups that you said, oh, I want to add a channel to this.
Hmm.
In that case, when they click on the final create thing here, you want to call the same existing API, but pass it an additional parameter, which would be the parent squad post ID, something like that, right? So that you are able to uh, relate the new child, new squad with uh, existing squad.
Okay.
So overall, it's a bit complicated, given that you may not be familiar with the schema, but
Hmm.
that's roughly what you have to do.
Okay. So if I want to create a channel, so if I go to the chat group, can
Yes.
you go to the chat group?
Yeah. Let's go to the chat group. Let's go to test group Shoshan. So you want to add one button here, which says,
Yeah, that's why I want to ask.
right?
Suppose I have to create a one button here,
Yeah.
then
So that should
what
bring
window
up
will pop up?
the same UI as the URL here. You are you basically want to call.
We lost you. We lost you, Shishu.
Yeah, yeah. There is a connectivity issue.
So when that button is pressed, you want. Yeah, you can still hear me. Okay, wait. Let me go to a place where there's better internet. Wait, just give me 2 minutes. So it should be a little bit better here. Okay. So basically, what you want is you see this create squad URL here.
Hmm.
You want to go to this URL,
Okay.
right? Uh, and you want to go to this URL from within this, right? Now, now it's a little bit tricky
Hmm.
because the good practice is when you go to any URL, it should always contain all the parameters that it needs for working.
Hmm.
But this page is created with a little bit of a hack. And the hack is that some parameters are passed to it using window variables. Window can allow, you can add any variable to window dot xyz is equal to abc, and window dot pqr is equal to xyz. Whatever variables you create will become available to,
Global level, right?
is like a global variable. So when you click on this, it sets some global variable and calls that URL. And then this URL actually looks at the global variables and
Hmm.
Oh no.
right. So that's a hack. Ideally, every parameter that is passed should be inside the URL, so that it, because there are two kinds of squads that can be created. One squad is a training squad, uh, this one,
Hmm.
and the other squad is this squad, which is the knowledge sharing group, right? So the fact that it's trying to create a knowledge sharing group and not a training squad is passed using a global variable. It's a hack, and I'm telling you beforehand because you wouldn't expect this hack to be there. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to let you know beforehand. Yeah. So what you want is that over here, when someone clicks a button,
Hmm.
you don't have to refactor the entire code. Yeah, because there's no point in spending half a day trying to refactor, or 1 day or 2 days to refactor code. Uh, Presently, but if you can try to follow a good practice, that's good also, right? But don't break the existing code. So that's what I'm trying to say. So you could pass variable as a window variable. I'm not very concerned as long as the hack works and it doesn't cause any major issues, right? But if you pass it without using window variables, that's also in fact more recommended, right? So when you click here, it should go to that code where create training create squad is called. You pass in additional parameters to it, saying that this is a channel which is being created. So you see here, yeah. Okay. So you pass that information. So in this case, right? Yeah. So in this case, basically the topic should be already pre-selected. Whatever is the topic or the taxonomy of the parent uh, group should be the topic and taxonomy of the child group. And then you just create it. And when you create it and you call the API, right? When you call the API over here, you see the place where the API is being called. Right? This create squad API. Over here, you will have to pass in the user feed ID. So what I suspect is that this is not the user feed ID. This is the squad ID. So you want to pass the user feed ID of this, uh, right? So that you could create that kind of a relationship that we were talking about, the parent and child relationship. So remember that GraphQL allows you to uh, create the full squad first, and then create the relationship between that squad and the that user feed and the existing user feed. So what you could always do is just say like mutation, right? You could do uh, create a squad request, right? First, you do the create squad request, pass in all the parameters. Then, then what you could do is, then you could do create, uh, yeah, squad relation. Okay, let's just say we look at some relation. Yeah, like this is create taxonomy relation, but you could think of it like that relationship model that you're creating, you know, the one which is like parent and child. You could create that over here, and that you could pass the parent ID. So typically, like over here, you could just pass two IDs, like child and the parent ID, child ID and the parent ID. Yeah, see child ID and parent ID, and order you could pass over there, and that would create the relationship between them. And then all the array kind of functionality and all those things will become automatic. So in that way, if you do, then it would be probably easier for you to make the modification, because the create squad request would be almost same as existing one. You just have to give a different sub kind to that, so it's easy to differentiate, and then create a squad relation would then join together the child with the parent, right? So that way, if you do, there would be probably lesser changes to be done to the mutations. Yeah.
Okay.
So in fact, what you could do is basically in squad request, you could just add an additional parameter and let the squad request run in the normal way. And as the last step, you could just add this create taxonomy relationship as a conditional call. Yeah. Okay, so that's all from my side. This is complicated, but if you do it once, right, you would understand important
Yeah,
parts of the application
yeah.
pretty.
At the beginning level is very difficult, but I will try to understand all the flow.
Yeah, I agree. So at any place, if you feel this has too many moving parts, then what you could also do is like still try to work on this, but uh, you could probably focus half of your time on bug fixing and half of your time on this, so that
Okay.
yeah, you could still progress with something to come out. And this, as you kind of understand, then when in the next month you are back after exams, you'll be more comfortable with the application logic and working and all those things. That would be easier for you then. Yeah.
Okay.
You can repeat this video. It will be make sense when you see it the second time.
Yeah, I will. I will watch the second time.
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. Yeah. I know there are too many new things to be digested. So yeah, just take your time to understand that, and I'll assign some bugs as well for you to have a look, so that it's
Okay.
easier for you to kind of understand in a like in a smaller chunks, because this is a major functionality. Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
So okay, guys, thanks for joining late in the evening and late at night in Singapore. So
Okay.
thanks everyone, and let's catch up again tomorrow. Yeah?
Okay.
Cheers. Uh,
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.